G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Just a tick over 30 days away until the 2024 AFL season starts, and I'm going to be kicking off a mini series on the channel going over some player predictions via a tier list, and today we're going to be going over the defenders, ranking how I think they will perform in 2024. So with this mini series over on today's video, we'll be going over defenders, the next video will be midfielders, and the third and final video will of course be the forwards, and the positional categories we'll be going over today for defenders to separate the players are key defenders, small/medium defenders, and finally your general defenders. And the tiers we'll be using to separate and rank the players, we'll be going over 4, tier 4 will be good, tier 3 will be great, tier 2 will be elite, and I felt this one was necessary for tier 1 to separate the elite players and the very best. Tier 1 will be the top 3 players in each position. So if you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'd be heavily appreciated. Let's get into it. So we kick off the video today with the first position category of key defenders, and we'll go from tier 4 all the way up to tier 1 in that order. So kicking off with tier 4 in the good category, here are the players right here. First player up, Noel Bolter from Richmond. He can have his bad moments, but he is a very athletic player who is also a very good intercept defender, ranked number 1 in terms of intercept marking for key defenders, so I think he warrants a place in this tier list. Jack Buckley from the GWS Giants worked really well in tandem alongside Sam Taylor last year. Underrated defender, think he continues his form this year. Sam Collins, another underrated defender for the Gold Coast Suns. Him and Charlie Ballard have a very good partnership, and I think, yeah, very underrated defender. Sam De from the Geelong Cats. What a year he had in 2022, but did drop off a bit in the Cats' slump in 2023. I think he bounces back in 2024. Liam Jones from the Western Bulldogs. I think halfway through the year was ranked one of the best intercept markers in the competition, so that says alone why I think he belongs in this tier list. Brodie Kemp from the Carlton Blues. This one's a bit of a left field decision. I think he can really improve this year. He really should have made the under-22 side last year. He came in the second half of the year and he bossed it really well alongside Jacob Wiedering. I think he improves heavily this year. And then we've got Nick Murray from the Crows. Bit of a lenient selection given he's recovering from an ACL injury, so I won't play the whole year. But I think if Adelaide improve this year, he's going to be an important part. Jack Payne, another under-the-radar defender for the Lions. He's very important to their structure, which allows Harris Andrews to play some great footy, locking down on the opposition best forward. And then the final one in the good category, we've got 𝐓𝐡𝐿𝐼 𝐷𝐿𝐼 from Port Adelaide. This one is another big call, but I've always loved his intercepting ability. I think he can form a great partnership alongside 𝐿𝐼. And then now we move on to the great category, or tier 3. And speaking of Port Adelaide, we kick it off with 𝐿𝐼. Always a really strong defender in terms of intercepting ability. And I think with 𝐓𝐡𝐞 𝐎𝐿𝐼 at his service, he really improves and just gets that much support he needs. Then we move on to Tom Barrass from the West Coast Eagles. Always a really solid defender, one-on-one and intercepting wise. Another great interceptor by the name of Brennan Cox. Currently injured at the moment, but yeah, always a really underrated defender for the Freo Dockers. Think he has a good year again in 2024. Jeremy Howe, can't go past this guy in terms of great key defenders. Really entertaining player to watch and loves to rebound and also very athletic. Jake Lever, really composed defender. Just one of the best ball readers of the competition behind the play. Just love how he goes at it. Tommy McCartan, I think he can heavily improve this year for the Swans. He did a really good job on Charlie Curnow in that elimination final. In the last 5 weeks of last year, he was actually ranked the best key defender in the competition, so I think if he's able to have a full season, he really improves this year. Jeremy McGovern, just the injuries. I don't know if he's able to have a full season, but if he's able to, that would be absolutely special. But for me, he could potentially turn into an elite key defender again, but his body probably says no, so I still think he's a great key defender, and I'm optimistic that he can churn out a few more games this year in 2024. Then Ben Mackay, probably a bit of a high ranking for him here, but I'm pretty optimistic on Mackay to really really play an important role for the Dons in 2024, locking down on the opposition's best forward and really making an impact for the Dons in their back six. Nathan Murphy, really underrated key back, I think, for Collingwood. Think he continues to improve in 2024. And the final one in the great category, we have got Jordan Ridley from the Bombers. Again, sort of similar to a few of those other types. Is he able to have that full season? I want to be optimistic on these players. If he is, I think he makes a huge impact with just his intercepting ability and also his foot skills coming out of the back half for the Dons. And now we move on to Tier 2, the elite tier. We kick off with Charlie Ballard from the Gold Coast Suns. He had a really good first half of the year in 2023. Just a really strong intercepting defender, and I think he can really have a breakout season and show to the competition that he could potentially be one of the best key backs in the comp in 2024. Hard to go past Stephen May, of course, just such a brutal one-on-one defender and also a very underrated player in terms of foot skills and getting it out of the defensive 50 for Melbourne. Then Darcy Moore, great player to watch. Can give up a few too many goals one-on-one, but he backs that up with just his strong rebound ability and intercepting marking. And then we've got Jacob Weitering from Carlton. A lot of Blues fans are hyping up this guy to potentially get his first All-Australian jacket. He's definitely a chance. I'm definitely behind him. He will for sure be up there. And then Callum Wilkie from St Kilda was really good in 2023, picking up his maiden All-Australian blaze. I think he impresses again in 2024. And then now for Tier 1. This is my top 3 key backs in the competition for 2024, in my opinion. We've got Harris Andrews, James Sicily, and Sam Taylor to round it out for the key defenders. Harris Andrews sort of played that third tall role last year. He'll continue that, you'd assume, this year, and just such a composed defender and just a absolute boss in the air. James Sicily, just the nucleus of that Hawks back half, really impressive player to watch. And then Sam Taylor to round out the key defenders, probably the best key back in the competition, in my opinion. Brutal in the air and just such a competitive player as well, one-on-one. And there is the key defenders, everyone. We now move on to the small/medium defenders. These are your play types that pretty much their predominant focus is playing as a lockdown defender, locking down on those dangerous forwards, most of them small forwards, but they aren't key defenders in terms of height, nor that they are pure running half-backs. These are your players like Maynard and intercepting players like Tom Stewart and those types. So we've only got 14 players in this tier list, so we'll kick off with Tier 4 with the good tier. We start off with Miles Bergman from Port Adelaide. Always a really underrated defender in terms of young guns in the competition. Made the 22 under 22 side last year. Finished 8th in Port Adelaide's best and fairest, which I think is very impressive. And a player that will really boss it in 2024. Able to play in tall and small forwards, and a very competitive player too. Then we've got Tom Doedee, the new recruit for the Brisbane Lions. He is coming off the ACL, let's remember, but from reports I've been hearing, he's probably going to be estimated to return and playing senior footy around 7 or 8 weeks in towards the season. So at least 3/4 of the season, I still think warrants him a spot on the list because he's always been a very underrated defender and competitive for his size. Good intercepting play too. Judd McVie from the Melbourne Demons, another one of those very underrated young gun types of players, entering now his 3rd season of footy and was just ultra reliable for the Demons last year, so I can't see why he can't make another huge improvement in 2024. And pretty much a complete similar type to McVie, Mark Smilkalani, brilliant first year he had playing as that small defender type and also capable of possessing some great intercepting skills. And then now we move on to the great tier. First up we've got is Blake Hardwick for the Hawks. Geez, I'm saying this word underrated quite often, but he epitomises an underrated defender for Hawthorn. Just a very reliable type and also good one-on-one. Mitch McGovern for the Carlton Blues finally had an injury-free season for the most part last year. I'm pretty sure he almost played every single game and he was brilliant in terms of intercepting, so I think he's going to be a key part for the Blues if they should succeed in 2024 with his important intercepting marking skills as that 3rd tall. Then we've got Luke Ryan from Fremantle. If you look at the statistics and his production, you could say you could put him in the elite tier this year, but I've always felt with how he plays, sort of just that seagull type. He doesn't really offer much in terms of impact, so I'll put him in the great tier. And then to round out the tier 3, we've got Brendan Starcevich from the Brisbane Lions. I think he dropped off a little bit last year compared to his previous seasons, but he will still be very important heading into 2024 for Brisbane, locking down on those dangerous small forwards. And now for the elite tier, we've got the three players right here. Brandon Maynard to kick it off. Always hard to go past this guy in terms of tough footballers. He epitomises that and is a very courageous player too, and plays with passion as well. And yeah, really, really tough player to beat one-on-one. And then a big call here with 𝐴𝐵𝐿 from the Gold Coast Suns. Really bullish on this guy. He's always been such a natural footballer in terms of intercepting and also foot skills, but he's had his injury woes, but he's been looking really good on the track in pre-season so far. And I think if Gold Coast improve, he's going to be really important as that third tall defender. And then always hard to go past Nick Vlastuin in terms of an elite type of defender. Always been very underrated across his whole career, and one of the best intercept marking defenders in the competition. Think he will continue to display that title in 2024 for sure. And then for the top three small/medium defenders in 2024, I'm going with Connor Odoon, Isaac Quaynor, and Tom Stewart. Connor Odoon had a brilliant back half of 2023. His lockdown abilities was very good. He was brilliant one-on-one, and he could also rebound very, very well. Produced some brilliant numbers in terms of one-on-one percentage loss. Even better than the player next to him, Isaac Quaynor, another really good footballer. Tough, an absolute physical specimen, and is also a beast as a one-on-one defender. And then you can never leave out the absolute master in terms of reading the play and intercept marking of Tom Stewart from the Geelong Cats to round out the small/medium defenders. And for the final positional category in the video today, we're going to be going over the general defenders. So, pretty straightforward. They are your defenders that do pretty much everything. Mainly your rebounding halfbacks, but can also do some jobs playing on some dangerous forwards, can intercept mark, and also is usually the team's regular distributor across halfbacks. So let's get into tier 4. Got plenty of players to go over here. We kick off with Liam Baker from the Richmond Tigers. Love the way this guy goes at it. A very coachable player by the looks of it, because he's able to play forward as well, and a very courageous player too. Then Jake Bowey from the Melbourne Demons. Think this guy has a breakout season, just shows so much composure across halfback. Really love watching him go, and also possesses some really nice foot skills. Then I've got a big left call here, Connor Budarick from the Gold Coast Suns. Probably a handful of you would be like, who in the world is this player? He only played, I think, 2 or 3 games last year. He's coming off his second ACL, but I did hear in the preseason reports that Damien Hardwick is wanting this guy to be the Jayden Short of the Suns' back half. And he's had some nice games for Gold Coast whilst he has been fit, so I think with his composure and foot skills, he can really have a breakout year. Then we've got Liam Duggan from the West Coast Eagles, going to be spending a bit more time in the midfield this year in a bit of a midfield/defensive rotating role. How will his body go though? Doubt he plays a full season, but if he can play almost every game, he'll for sure be one of the Eagles' most important players with his experience. Then I've got Mitch Duncan from Geelong. Similar to Duggan, how will his body go? Doubt he plays over 20 games, given that he is injury prone, but he is a talented player that can accumulate the footy for Geelong, so he warrants a spot in this tier list. Ollie Florent, one of Sydney's most underrated players in my opinion. Love the way he just glides from halfback and loves to take the game on. Had some great performances for the Swans last year, and he's turning 25 this year, so this is probably where he starts to enter into his prime. I think he'll be important this year for the Swannies. Zach Guthrie from the Geelong Cats, another one of those under the radar types that a few people might question, but again, another player I really enjoy watching. I think this guy shows great composure, and he reads the play really well in the Cats back half. So Zach Guthrie really takes a step up in his numbers this year, in my opinion. Mitch Hinge, Adelaide's probably most improved player from last year. Will continue to obviously play across halfback and mostly on the wing. It really impressed me with his rebound ability and his numbers. Jake Lloyd, always a reliable defender for the Swans, has his bad moments here or there, but his leadership will definitely be important for the Swannies should they succeed with his reliability. Then we got Andy McGrath from the Bombers, will for sure be another important component of Essendon's back half. Harry Perryman, very underrated player for GWS, again probably playing a bit more higher up the ground on the wing, but yeah, just impact per touch, and really good player, I think, in terms of accountability, and a defensive-minded player that can also rebound and really find the goals too. And to round out tier 4, we've got another big call here of Josh Weddle. Think this guy can have a big breakout year for the Hawks. Probably a bit of an optimistic call, but from what I've been hearing, he's been tearing it up on the track in pre-season for Hawthorn, and just his ability to play high up the ground in the games we saw last year just translates translates into this guy could be a star, and could he get going in his second year? I think he could, so he rounds out tier 4. So then we move on to tier 3, the great tier. We start with 𝐼𝐻𝐾 𝐎ₛ from GWS. Really good breakout year for the Giants last year, the high draft pick. I think he continues his projection into a solid rebounding defender. Jordan Clark, bullish on this guy to have a breakout year for Fremantle in terms of numbers. Hayden Young moving a bit more into the midfield, so that gives him a bit of the license and a bit of a chance to roam free a bit more, because he does love to take the game on with his abilities. Bailey Dale from the Western Bulldogs, very good kick of the football, one of the best in the competition in that department. Nick Newman for Carlton, really important player for the Blues last year, and he's starting to get on a little bit, so could stagnate in terms of actual performance on the field, but his intercepting abilities, his foot skills were very critical for Carlton in their back half. I think he continues that in 2024. Ed Richards, I think probably the Bulldogs' most underrated player. Really love how he goes at it. A really neat player by foot, and can also intercept mark quite nicely. Danny Rowley from the Richmond Tigers, pure attacking halfback flanker. One of my favourite players to watch in Richmond colours. Trent Rivers, the Western Australian from the Melbourne Demons. I think he improves heavily in 2024. If plays like Salem starts to stagnate, that definitely gives him the chance to improve his numbers. And then Harry Sheezel to round out tier 3. Could put him into tier 2, but it is only going to be his second year. But wow, this guy is impressive, and for sure will be an elite player in the years to come. And now we move on to tier 2, the elite category. We have got a total of 6 players here, and we start off with Kitty Coleman. If you are a regular viewer of the channel, everyone, you know I absolutely love watching this player. He's had his injury woes, he had them last year, but how about his final series? It was beautiful. So if you can translate that into a full season this year, I think he's easily going to be tier 2 or above. Mason Redburn from the Essendon Football Club, just a pure attacking halfback flanker that also is accountable and can kick some beauties from 55 out, so definitely warrants a spot in tier 2. Adam Saad, definitely still an elite footballer in my eyes. Good intercepting ability, he can peel off his opponent and definitely carve up opposition by foot in transition. And then Jaden Short from Richmond, had a few injury problems last year, of course, but if he's able to get a full season out on the park, we know just a really clean play. Sort of reminds me of Jack Sinclair, where he just is so clean and fighting the footy in the midfield or at halfback. Really good rebounding ability, for sure is in the elite tier. Then we have 𝐻𝐶𝐼 𝐼𝐚𝐭𝐞𝐬 from St Kilda, expecting this guy to have a big breakout year in terms of numbers and become an elite halfback flanker in the competition. Just how he attacks off halfback and his foot skills and his footy smarts, very good. And then Lachie Whitfield from the GWS Giants, expecting him to really have, could be up there for a career best season if he's able to have a fully fit year, because he had some great games for GWS last year. And then for tier 1, to round out the general defenders for 2024, my predictions will be Nick Blakey, Dan Houston and Jack Sinclair. Nick Blakey, as a Swans man, absolutely love watching this guy play. He was able to do almost anything in the Swans back half. He was able to peel off, intercept mark, play a bit higher up the ground, but also really play as that accountable defender, playing on the likes of Harry Mackay and sometimes the opposition's best forward. So yeah, he's just a really versatile player now for the Swans. This is the year where I reckon he makes a push towards an All-Australian spot. Dan Houston, hard to see him stagnate or really decrease his game from last year. Great kick of the footy, and also very good intercept mark as well. And then Jack Sinclair, not much has to be said about him. Does he play a bit more midfield again this year? Does Ross Lyon experiment that a little bit more? Perhaps, but of course we all know, I think we can all agree, he plays his best as just that roaming halfback flanker that sits at the back of stoppages really well, reads the play beautifully and goes by foot exquisitely as well. So that rounds out the general defenders. So ladies and gentlemen, there were my defender tier list predictions for the 2024 AFL season. Remember, this isn't a current ranking, these are predictions on how I think these players will perform in 2024. If you did go on to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Also comment down below and let me know what you did think of my tier list. Would you add in a few plays that maybe were stiff to miss out? Would you put plays a bit higher or a little bit lower? Love to hear your fellas' opinions down below in the comments. And of course, stay tuned on the channel within the next few days as I'll release also the midfielders and forwards tier list predictions video. So hopefully you did enjoy, everyone, and until next time, I will talk to you later. See you later, fellas.